Hi there, and welcome to another edition of the Kevin Preston Toy Box. Today we profile the Big Bruiser tow truck by Marx. And here is the Big Bruiser on our work table, ready for repairs. And as you can see here, it's in relatively good condition. I mean, this toy is from the early 60s. It was a wonderful Christmas present by my wife, and it does work. But there's enough issues with it that I'm going to tear it down and clean it up and do some repairs on it. There's a control here in the middle that creates your backwards and forwards. And as you see, it's kind of sticky and the contact is best. Once you get it contacted and going, it works better than other times. One of the other things is that the light on the top here flash once or twice, but doesn't really work, and one of the wires fell off inside, so it was probably a intermittent connection. The other big problem with these is the hoist. If you can see right down here, these tabs that go through the bed right here and snap in, break off. These have been broken off long ago, and I have them held in place by wire ties, but the wire ties are kind of too big, and it was just a temporary fix, so I'm going to try to fix it with thinner wire ties. I could epoxy the whole thing down, but I don't really want to do that. Also, in the bed here, you can see a small crack. We're going to epoxy that from the inside and fix that as well. And as well as clean up all the connections and repair the connections, get the light working. Understand that at least some versions of these had some sort of siren. Now, I haven't heard a siren or anything that sounds like it, but when we open it up, we're going to see if there was some sort of noisemaker in there that might be broken. The rest of the truck works better. There's a little clutch control right here, and you can unlock and then lower the hook right here. And that works pretty good. But the truck doesn't move all that well. We're going to fix the contacts. We're going to fix the light in it and a few other things and get it going a little better than it is right now. Now, the bed is held on by these metal tabs that go through the plastic bed and twist, and they bend like that. So I'm going to try to untwist them without breaking them off. You will notice on the underside of the cab, it is a metal box that holds all the batteries and motors and all that. So it's a very nicely constructed item. It really is. It's a beautifully constructed item. There's a toolbox up front here that holds the tools. Now, mine didn't come with the small tools, but they're available from Red Venom Reproductions, and we'll be getting a set from them. I think they're only $9, so pretty cheap. And they go in the little toolbox there. I have the jack and also the metal handle that will go through this hole in the side and let you hand crank the winch if necessary. At this point, the tabs are carefully straightened by needle nose pliers to allow the plastic to be released and the pickup bed to be removed from the metal chassis. Also, the temporary zip ties were removed. This allowed the whole towing assembly to be removed from the bed of the truck. By pushing the tabs back to the plastic, we're able to remove the whole plastic bed. And voila, the underneath. Pretty clean. After all these years, a little bit of lubrication residue, or dirt. Pretty darn clean. Pretty nice example. And here's all the wiring we're going to sort out right here. And you can also see the gearbox that we're going to lube up as well, right down here. And get all that stuff working really good. And next we're going to remove the cab and get at the light. Unfortunately, to get the white cab off, it appears that it's held in front, sandwiched between the bumper and the metal tab of this box by a rivet. So we're probably going to have to drill these rivets out and then either replace them with nuts or bolts or some other mechanism. After I drilled out from behind these two rivets, the bumper comes off. The entire cab can be lifted off. The steering wheel can be pulled off the top, and then the top interior of the cabin can be removed. Now, here's the steering rod that goes up to the floor of the cabin. And my steering wheel was sticky. And well, why would that be? Well, because it's sticky in here after these years oxidation on this metal rod, as well as lack of lubricant, makes this hard to turn. We're going to fix that. Inside the cab, you'll see that the rod simply fit in this notch right here, and since it has a bend in it, it makes that turn. The steering wheel was loose on the rod as well, and we'll fix that at the same time. So now we basically have the bed and the cab completely removed from the structure. And this is a really nice metal chassis. It's why these Marx toys, even though they were manufactured to a price point, they used rivets and these bendable tabs to save machine time and costs, the basics were good. The plastic was a good, durable quality. The metal was in the chassis, so it didn't warp and break. Now, one of the things I did was hook an external battery box right here to leads, and I can turn it on quite easily right here. I'm going to show you one of the problems I had with the unit. Okay, here is one of the problems I have right now. If you can hear me over this clatter. This drive shaft of this gear right here is bent. Right here. You'll notice it's bent over to the left. The problem with that, and it settles that way. The problem is that as soon as you put any pressure on the tire, it just stops. Because it's closer to the gear on the left than it is on the right. As soon as you put any pressure on it, it stops. That's why this thing had problems moving forward and backwards. Now, if I manually turn the rod, watch carefully, so the gear tilts to the right. See that? Now I can really grip the wheel and it'll still keep going. But it likes to go back to where it's used to, bent to the left. Also, this piece of the cage was bent. What I found in the bottom of the truck, you'll be interested to see, was one of these. Remember this? A hair clip from like the 60s. My mom used to have these. That was in the bottom. My guess is someone was using it or put it on the tow truck or clipped something and it fell through the crack of the where the wrecker comes through and ended down here and maybe jammed into one of the gears. It was laying right underneath the gears and caught in the gears and bent the shaft. So one of the things we have to do is take this mechanism out and bend that shaft back. With a nice molded in differential and muffler that covers the tabs, the metal tabs of the motor housing that goes through the floor, probably to keep from snagging on the carpet or cutting you, right? Unfortunately, that has one rivet right there. You can see. I need to take this motor housing out so that I can get to this bent axle and bend it straight. I can't get a tool down on in there without potential of damaging anything else, so I'm not even going to try. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill, again, that rivet out. We'll replace it with a screw. And then the back is just a tab hinge of plastic right there. Unfortunately, I thought I could push on this and get it down and back and just swivel it off the rivet, but it won't let me do that. Okay, I just drilled this out from the other side. Remove that rivet, which I'll replace with a nice screw and nut. And like I said, this whole thing hinges from back here. And there's the tabs I talked about to hold the engine on, just like I thought. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to tweak these tabs square with their openings and take the motor assembly out. So one problem begets another. I cannot take this housing out, I realize, until I take this axle out of the way, because it goes to the sheet metal. And it goes to the housing. The axle goes to the housing. There's no way to get this housing out. So the wheels are on by the fact that the end of the axle is stamped, so it keeps the wheel, you can see this, on there. There's a flange. I'm going to grind that off with my Dremel, and so that I get the wheel off, so I get the axle out, so I can take out the gearbox, so I can straighten out the bent axle that you can see right there. That's bent. So the thing will drive right, and then I think what I'll do is I'll have to put a small cotter pin in there with a washer as a replacement. Now we're going to clean up the very dirty chassis. Lubricate all points, clean, and touch up. Okay, there's been quite a few developments on the big Bruiser. We completely removed the motor unit. We straightened out the bent shaft here. You can see it's pretty straight now. So it engages the gears all the time. We lubricated all the gears. We oiled the main motor. We cleaned everything up. We cleaned the undercarriage. Look how much nicer that undercarriage is. Really, really nice and clean. We cleaned the, there I go, almost switching it on. We cleaned the steering mechanism. We cleaned the battery box completely, outside and inside. And then what we did is we redid the wiring slightly. We left the original harness in place to keep it as original as possible. What we did is we spliced into the motors, or the leads that went to the motor. And the reason we did that is if we spliced directly into battery power, the light that these leads go to would always be on. The switch is very delicate, and I really didn't want to dismantle that. If we left the one lead that went into the battery box and then just tapped into one power lead that went to the motor, the light would only work in one direction because the reverse switch changes polarization. So the light would not work properly. So what we did is we simply put the two wires on the power leads that go to the motor, and that way, whether the motor was in reverse or not in reverse, it would still be getting power through these leads into the siren light on top. I had to resolder the base wire in there. I dropped a ball of solder into that base and plugged the wire right into it. It held really nice. I extended the wires as well. They were pretty short and tight on the old one, and now there's plenty of room to get the cab off and on. I lubricated everything, cleaned everything. I acquired some special nuts and bolts to put the bumper back on and replace areas where I had to drill out the rivets. I epoxied the crack right here from behind and strengthened it as well. I'm gluing the crack in the bottom of the bed. I've cleaned the bed up. I've also just finished cleaning and polishing the cab interior. Look how nice this is. And look at the level of detail Marx went in this cab. Pedals, the rubber texturized floor mat, simulated floor mat, the seats, the grain of the vinyl on the seats, the gear shift and control console. Just a really nice unit. And now, it wasn't filthy dirty because it wasn't an enclosed cab, but you know, there's no windows, so dirt did get in there. And I got all the way in there with the cleaner, Q-tips, and made this really nice. What I like to use, as I've used on other toy restorations, is Mother's plastic polish. Truly a great product. Not only cleans but polishes. I hit everything with dampened Q-tips first to get all the dirt off, and it takes a while, even in the large area, especially with the large areas. But we clean it really nice, and then we use the plastic polish on it. What I'm going to do is touch up these wheels. When I was taking them off, there was one scrape already, and then I scraped them again. It looks like they were red plastic originally, and had a chrome paint put on them. I've got some chrome spray paint. I'm going to just dab a little bit on there. The other wheel seems to be okay. Gone ahead and sprayed in some Testors metallic chrome paint, spray paint, and keeping it agitated here. And then it's not an absolute perfect fix, but it sure is better than the scraped red that you see on this bumper. And if you see here, if I can kind of get the light, I don't know how well you can see this, but we're just applying just a touch on here. You can see how that is just filling in those scratches. And then where it runs a little bit, it's thin enough and flexible enough that we can wipe it away before it dries in those areas that it's very thin. This is the steering crank, and we might have talked about this before, but it's dingy and it's got surface rust on it, so it makes the steering sticky. So what we're going to do is we dampen a little bit of very, very fine sandpaper until we go through this. You can see all the orange coming off. See that? It's all this surface rust. And just keep at it. And wipe it clean. And then, just like I used on the steering plate itself, use a little of this chrome polish from Turtle Wax. It's the best stuff I've seen. Best stuff I've ever used. It's for cars, but geez, what the hell do you care if it works? Oh, it's only going to be for cars! You always have some Nimrod saying that. You wouldn't believe some of the email I get from Nimrods. Of course, you ask them what they've restored. Nothing! I got a guy that said that my AMX, my American Motors AMX, will never run right unless I buy illegal, real lead and put it in my gas. And I've been running my AMX now for 20 years on pump gas with an additive. Oh, that won't work! I don't care if you've got a toy hobby or an auto hobby or gun hobby, whatever it is. There's a-holes in every single one of them. Now look how that really shined up. It actually is a copper color. Now, you take that, and I have a little cube, it was a cube at one time, of paraffin wax. And we just rub this all over here. And that's a nice, non-corrosive, long-lasting, metal-to-metal, quasi-lubricant. That'll keep that twisting around in that metal, sheet metal, very nicely. I'm going to put the steering crank to the bottom of the floorboard, like so. So when it steers, it goes back and forth like that. And we're going to line it with the hole in here. And then align the tabs with the body. Go. Now you'll see, turning this turns the wheels. Ain't that nice? Real pretty. The interior is held in place by these metal tabs from the chassis. We've got to very carefully twist those back on without breaking them back off, and that's what holds the cab in place. Very nice. So we take our needle nose plier friends here, and we simply tweak, push down and tweak them slightly, and that's what holds. Now, I am not a fan of this. Marx obviously had to control costs, and having sheet metal twisty things and pressed in parts is a cheap way to do things, rather than machining, you know, screws, nuts and bolts and all that. Fortunately, this toy was not exposed to a lot of rust, so it didn't you're not suffering from seeing a lot of broken tabs. As a matter of fact, none of the tabs broke off, and so we're in pretty good shape there. So we just got our nice clean cab on here, and that's the first step to making this thing look real sweet. Next thing I'm going to do is get a replacement screw for this hole right here that, I don't know if you can see it, it's right there. It was a rivet, okay, right down here. It was a rivet that held the bottom motor base on, and I had to drill it out so I get the motor out. It is this piece right here. So as we carefully tilt this over, okay, this is what covers this gear from ripping little fingers and stuff. Basically, the tab right there fits over here. I already twisted these tabs to put the motor mounted back in place, and then it lays here, and then this used to be a rivet right here. We're going to replace that with a screw. There we go. Next, the steering wheel goes back on. It's a press fit. Nice. Now listen to how nice this motor sounds. Put in gear. So cool. Reverse. Okay, you want to activate the towing rope. Release the lock. There it goes. Other way. There goes the cable. Beautiful. Everything is working. Everything's working really nicely. Nice and quiet and lubricated. Now we've epoxied the bed, and what I like to do is all these little areas where dirt's collected, these little holes, like right here. Clean that out. The blast of air. See that? I've already done a lot of cleaning on this flatbed part of the truck, but we're doing more. Take a little Q-tip. Take that stuff out of there. Do them with all of them. You know, as clean as you can. Then we hit it with plastic cleaner. The whole bed. Look how that cleans right up. Okay. Okay, next we're going to fit the cab back onto the main body. Now, I put these rubber bands in place here on the cab because we glued a crack. Take these off now. This is 5-minute epoxy, which means its complete cure time is in about an hour, and it's been over that. So we're going to take this off the convenient box that we had it on, and we're going to route the wires down out of the way. They have no guide or something on the inside of the cab. They always just kind of hung there. So we're going to do the same thing here. Bring it back around. Drop the cab back into place here. You be quiet, don't turn on too fast. And we're just going to kind of work it down. There we go. You'll notice that when we turn the let's put in neutral. When we turn the power on, the light now goes on, and if you wait a moment, it starts blinking because it's a flashing light bulb evidently that was used inside. Don't make me a liar, Mr. Marx, Big Bruiser. Please flash now! Now! There we go. Is that not cool? Very happy about how that came out. Now the crack is repaired in the bed of the pickup, right here, and strengthened, and won't be a problem again. So now we're going to place the bed on the back of the truck. Making sure we get all handles and not to turn it on too soon. Slowly going on. You don't want to force any of these things. That's not going to prove anything. It's not going to prove you're a man or anything else. It might just get you killed. There we go. So the bed's on there. I'm going to fix the tabs. And the next thing we're going to do is try a better solution for the actual winch mechanism back here. Everything is coming out very nicely. So you can see how the truck is starting to look. Real nice. We're going to put the front bumper on with the screws, and it's going to be looking really good. The other problem that is very common to these trucks is the first part of the wrecker attachment. What happens is these tabs on the bottom here like to break off. You can see they're both broken on both sides. And I knew that when I bought it, that they were broken. So what a lot of people try to do on these is use like a twist tie through the slot of the floor. And I actually experimented around with that. And quite frankly, I wasn't satisfied with the results. The other thing that one could do is run a line of epoxy right underneath here and glue this assembly on. I'm not really crazy about that idea here either. My little arch here is not perfect. You'll notice one of the backup lights is broken off here. I might fabricate a replacement for that, but it's not perfect. So I'm not looking for an absolute perfect solution, but I found one, and this is what we're going to do. If you look really closely on the steel structure of the motor box, you'll see it has a hole in it for whatever reason. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a bolt through that hole, fasten it in place with a locking nut setup, fasten it in place with a lock nut, and then drill a hole through the plastic directly across from it right here, and that will fasten the centerpiece down, thereby holding this whole piece. It's very important this piece does not swivel like this, okay, and that it's solid, because the wrecker that the car attaches to attaches at the top of this, so it needs to be very solid and substantial. So we're going to do that right now. Okay, you'll see where we drilled the hole here, and we're going to put it down right down here, and you'll see where the hole is going to line up. Let's put a screw in. Yep, screw lines up really nice. So what we're going to do is, to make this less loosey-goosey, I'm going to put a screw to hold this, a nut to hold this screw in place, right there, and then we'll slide this one in and lock it down with another nut. Lock nut and hold down nut are in place. Next, we put the rest of the wrecker assembly in place. These wires fit in the top here, and these posts go in down here. And then we snap in the rest here. There we go. In place. You can put pressure on it, no problem. Then what we're going to do is release the thread. This is the original rope, I believe, from it. And we're going to rig. We're going to rig it. Put it to the pulley here. And the pulley here. And here is the completed truck. Now the other part of the set is the vehicle that actually gets towed behind the wrecker. And this is a little Marx pickup truck. It has the Marx logo right across here. And it's a very basic plastic truck. There is no plastic for the windshield or windows. It does free roll. But what's interesting about it is a couple things. Here's, of course, the damaged fender and the tire that has gone flat in the accident as well. It's actually got a flat spot on it.
what comes with the set is a spare tire that is fully round. And one of the little tools that I'm missing that I'm going to get as a reproduction is a little spanner wrench that takes off this acorn nut right here and allows you to pull off the tire and replace it with this fully round plastic tire. So that's really cute. There's also a replacement fender that's straight that you can pop this off and replace the fender. And it also comes with a color matching jack if you want to jack the car to change the tire. So it really was a complete little set, had everything with it. And this just basically just gets hooked up on the front bumper as we showed you and gets towed away.
Thank you for watching another exciting edition of the Kevin Preston Toy Box.